What's up guys, Techmaster back with another video. So I'm going to be going through all the new MacBooks that released. Next we have the MacBook Pro. So these just got updated with the M5 Pro and M5 Max. The M5 did go up in price probably because they all increased the prices. But with that being said, they did increase the storage of the base model M5 from 512 gigabytes to 1 terabyte. And that's something I'm going to mention with all these new MacBooks. They doubled the storage for all these new models. That's why they're more expensive. Not because Apple just wanted to casually raise prices, but because they actually added double the storage to all the new starting prices. So the M5 starts at $16.99, the M5 Pro starts at $21.99, and the M5 Max at $35.99. So the M5 Max is obviously the most powerful. We got up to an 18-core CPU, 40-core GPU. Again, kind of overpowered for most use cases. But if we go to compare them, so I'm going to go through all the new Pro models to start. And then we have the MacBook Air next. I'll do that last. I'm trying to go through all these so you guys can get some videos out and all that kind of thing. But so you talked about all the new prices. So M5 is on the very right and the M5 Max is on the very left. M5 Pro is in the middle. So the displays are identical. We thought that these were going to get OLED displays. Of course, they're not. So again, pretty incremental in the display upgrade. Same brightness, same refresh rate, same color, same everything. The M5 Max chips, obviously there's difference in the chips. But again, for regular users, you do not need the most beefed up chip. M5 Max has an 18-core CPU. M5 Pro has a 15-core CPU, and the M5 has a 10-core CPU. GPU, the M5 Max has a 32-core GPU, but you can go up to 40 cores for the Max. 16-core GPU on the M5 Pro, and 10-core GPU on the M5. Now for RAM, the M5 Max starts at 36 gigs, the M5 Pro at 24 gigs, and the M5 at 16. Starting storage, the M5 Max starts at 2 terabytes, and the M5 and M5 Pro start at 1 terabyte. But again, 1 terabyte, even in 2026, is more than enough. I have 512 on my base model M4, and I have only used around half of it barely. So for me, I'm chilling. Now, battery life is going to be a little bit worse on the M5 Max. But again, if you're doing high-end video editing, because there's so many HEV encoders and these new chips have a bunch of other features for video editing to improve efficiency, if you're doing a bunch of exporting with 8K video, the M5 Max is going to be a lot more efficient than these low-run chips because it's got more encoders and stuff, which will help with efficiency. So as I said, we have the new chips. So the M5 Max has 12 performance cores, and they have new super cores. I'm not really sure exactly what that means. They're probably efficiency cores. I'm not really sure. So 12 performance cores on the M5 Max, 12 performance cores also on the M5 Pro. And I guess that just means efficiency. I don't really know, to be honest. I'm not sure. Up to 40-core GPU on the M5 Max, 20-core GPU on the M5 Pro, 10-core on the M5. Now, in terms of memory bandwidth, the M5 has 153 gigabits per second memory bandwidth. The M5 Pro has 307 gigabytes of memory bandwidth per second, and the M5 Max has 614. Now, obviously, M5 Max is an overkill for that kind of purpose, but one thing I will point out is the M5 Pro compared to the M3 Pro has over double the memory bandwidth. So if you're doing a lot of those intense activities, it will be about twice as fast. The M3 Pro has around 150 gigabits per second of memory bandwidth, I believe. And it's actually right on par with the base model M5. So you don't necessarily need a Pro chip. This new M5 series has so many Pro encoders and all that kind of thing. And it's going to be really good for just the base model chips compared to any previous generation. As I said, the displays are identical, the size and weight. We don't really have to go through a lot of this. I mean, battery life is going to be the best on the 16-inch M5 Pro. They obviously have 16-inch versions, clearly. But I think, to be honest, I do think for the vast majority, the M5 Pro is probably going to be the best bet because the M5 Pro also has high power mode, just like the M4 Pro did. I think for the price, if you don't want the base model chip and you're doing a ton of high-end video editing, I think even though it's $500 like more, I think the M5 Pro is going to be the best in between. I think the M5 Max is definitely overkill for the majority. I would say probably get a 14-inch M5 Pro. The other thing I was going to mention, if you're considering between the M5 Max with 14 or 16. The 16 is going to be better mainly because of thermals. That 14-inch with M5 Max will throttle a little bit more because the cooling system's not as advanced. So typically that's what people experience with the 14-inch versions with M5 Max. So if you're going to get a 14-inch, probably go for M5 Pro. It won't use as much power and throttle performance as much. That's just something else to keep in mind. But all of these are very incremental unless you're doing tons of AI tasks. That's going to be much improved, I guess, over the M4. But again, nothing too crazy. One thing's for sure, I'm keeping my M4. I don't need these new M5 models. I think for me, they're overkill. I only do schoolwork. M4 is extremely efficient still. And that's what I was also going to talk about. If you have any M4 series, it's probably not worth upgrading for the vast. Even M3. If you have M2 and older, though, this is going to be a massive upgrade. But anything above an M2, I'd probably keep it. You don't really need it. But with that said, if you have an M3 Pro from 2 years ago and with battery starting to die off and it's starting to slow down a little bit, then the M5 Pro is going to be worth it, specifically for those memory bandwidth intensive tasks, because as I said, it is twice as fast. But if you're going for, don't go for an M5 or a base model chip, because then you're practically just wasting your money. But overall, as I said, I think these are pretty incremental, especially because they didn't get any display upgrades or any design changes. Kind of disappointing, but it is what it is. And that pretty much covers it up. So I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm going to make a video on the MacBook Air in 1 second.